I see Rob Baden made it, so he's here on time, so then we can start now.
Okay, need some signatures.
Yeah. All right, it's 9:30 on the agenda. We have Prairie Smoky Dunes SNA gate discussion with DNR. I see everybody I believe is here. So Rita, do you want to take the floor, I guess?
Sure. Thank you,
Welcome.
Mr. Chair and Commission members. Thanks for allowing time on your agenda for us to come and present. I'm Rita Albright, the Regional Director for Minnesota DNR out of Bemidji is our headquarters for this region. And I have with me Michelle Kelly-Dobie, who is our Lands and Minerals Manager, and Nathan Kestner, who is our Regional Ecological Water Resources Manager. And you noted Rob Baden has also joined us, although he's just a silent observer, I believe, today. He tries to make himself small and but it's hard to do so. Nathan's going to take the lead today, and we're going to share with you the information that we've gathered over the last 6 months. We were here last October and have been working on this issue during that time, and we'll let you know what we've been up to. I want to make sure everyone has a packet of information that was mailed, so if you need any color copies or anything, just let me know and I can give them to you. I have extras, yeah. Are you all good with the information you have? Okay. So with that, I'm going to let Nathan take the lead on the presentation.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having us. It's good to be back. So I think it was October 19th when we were here last. And at that time, we talked about the interest of the board and others to enhance access at the Prairie Smoky Dunes SNA. We heard some concerns from the landowners here. Tim Jago is here, Todd Christian is here. In leaving that meeting, I agreed to work on some alternatives assessment. So look at the feasibility of different ways that can get to that primary purpose of improving access. There was some concern at the last meeting that maybe there was a private landowner commission's survey that didn't agree with DNR's survey, so we wanted to look into that as well. So since last October, we have been busy. In the packet in front of you, you'll see an alternatives assessment that just kind of pulls together all the things that we've been looking at. You'll have a map with some numbers on it. What that does is has the different alternatives that correspond in a table. But just from the, in summary, what we've done has been working with landowners. We did a little bit more work with our survey. We did some cost estimation. I had a conversation, there's some email correspondence with Commissioner Chairman Bombersbach. And at that time, to paraphrase, he basically said, well, this seems pretty simple. It's just a matter of moving the road, and the property line isn't really down the center of the road. And I said, well, I'm going to look into that. So what I did is I contacted our surveyor. I said, I bet we've got some data on that. And so there's, on the back page, you'll see a small air photo with 3 boxes. And what that is a blow-up of the road. It has the actual surveyed edges and the actual surveyed property line. And what we found is that some of the things you were thinking, Chairman, are certainly true in terms of the majority of the road being to the south of the line. So that was really helpful to get your feedback. And so overall, our conclusion is, depending on the alternative that we look at, they all have different trade-offs in terms of cost, in terms of the different types of agreement that would need to move forward. The couple alternatives, 2 and 3, that would require some travel down the edge of that line, they would require an amendment to our commissioner's designation order, and that has a public hearing that needs to take place first, with the actual decision or approval coming after that public hearing. Not all the alternatives have a public hearing associated with them. I mentioned cost, and then the ways in which they would potentially have impacts on the adjacent landowners. Those are different with each alternative. Some of them avoiding those impacts, and others having more or less of those type of impacts. And so moving forward, what we'd like to see is a resolution from the board saying, you know, we'd like you to move forward with this alternative. Hopefully there would be some consensus, you know, between the board and the landowners. And then depending what that alternative is, it can be as simple as ordering the work to get done, or if it's an alternative that requires an amendment to the designation order, you'd need to have that public hearing first. That's something we'd certainly be willing to do. So I guess I'd like to just kind of kick it to the board, Mr. Chairman, and if you have questions or anything I can help provide some clarity on. If you want me to walk through the table of the alternatives, I'd be willing to do that.
I guess I just have one question.
Sure.
On your option, alternative 3, it says move the gate, develop new parking area a quarter mile in.
Yes.
When I look at number 3 where it's located on your map, that doesn't look like it's a quarter mile.
It's an approximate distance. Basically, what we can do there is move all the way up to where it just comes short of where to the north we would see Mr. Jagle and Mr. Christian's property line. It gets swampy there, and we don't want to be doing any type of construction through the wetland. So it's an approximation. If it falls just short of a quarter mile, it's helpful for you to point that out to us.
I mean, on your map, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't show a quarter mile.
And so the actual survey would give the actual distances.
I guess the other thing I'm asking is that, because I walked it last fall and looked at your survey stakes and stuff, there's a field approach, I believe, into Mr. Christensen's down into his property. So I was wondering if that number 3 would be kind of past him, so he still could use the road when he's using his field, coming in and out, so he doesn't have any obstructions. And
I can't commit to getting to that point today. What we can commit to is moving forward with the public hearing to look at some type of an alternative 3. And if we can iron out those details, you know, as part of that, I think that's something that can reasonably be looked at. The piece that I don't want to run into is that, okay, to get to the point that you're interested in, if we would need to be constructing a road through a wetland, those are the type of impacts that we would see as being not consistent with the Wetland Conservation Act. And,
have you walked that road?
I haven't walked it, I've driven it down to Mr. Christian's property line there.
Wetland there. I couldn't see that.
It's the type of wetland there, if you were to drive down there, let's say next week, there would probably be some standing water. But let's say you go down there in October or September, it would probably be bone dry at that point. So it would be more of a seasonal wetland area. And so not the type of wetland where many people would associate with how they think of a wetland with being cattails year-round. But nevertheless, it would be more of a shrub swamp type area.
Are the landowner, have been reviewed the options?
Yes.
in front of us?
Yes, and I've been kind of keeping directly in contact with Shelley Pecklin from the Prairie Smoke Dunes out of Prairie Falls, and we've discussed and we've driven around, Todd and myself and Shelley, to look at some of the options. And I guess I'd have to go back to when this first started. What we found through MnDOT's permits and right-of-way at the time, the right-of-way for MnDOT was 75 feet from the center line to the west. And with the DNR and us, we decided to just move the gate at that time a little even further back off MnDOT property. And so from where the gate is at to the fog line is 90 feet, which we thought we were well in compliance. And none of my people with MnDOT are contesting the gate or anything anyway, but what they found now is they're saying it's a section line, which MnDOT has 150 feet of right-of-way from the center line. So when Todd and Shelley and I discussed it, we said we could easily move the gate back, and that would give the people access to come off the highway toward the gate, and a parking area be directly to the south. And I think for Todd and myself, I guess that was our best option. We got a gentleman here from our township that was involved in this way back when the gate went up. And I keep hearing the term road, and Myron will also vouch that that was never a road. It was an access for the previous owners to go through the gentleman that owned our property. In the fall, it was Malum's owned that 200 acres. And in the fall, they would transport their cattle, which that area was all fenced in as a feedlot for them through the winter. And that's the only reason that property got accessed, and it only went up to where that 200 acres starts. There was never nothing beyond that. And from my understanding, if you go up to the recorder's office, you can see it was never maintained or owned by any township. It is the landowner's property. And actually, in one of these here, I have a letter from the township way back, if you want to pass, I should have made copies, but it is from the township that states they never owned, they never maintained, and it has never been a roadway.
I don't, I guess I'm not disputing that.
You have a light on and sir, it's distracting things.
I'm not disputing your, but I guess the comments come up now, since the road is basically on public property, or majority of it. People believe then it should be public access, since it,
I understand
there's no township, we understand that. But since there's an established road on the public right of way, or very much, most of it, that they should be able to utilize that into a public.
And that's up to the DNR, SNA, whether they allow motorized vehicles on most of that. Todd Christian now owns that 200. He needs access to his property. And I guess that's where we're standing, is that, like I mentioned in that October meeting, myself, my kids, my family, we don't use that access at all. And so, but yes, and you can look at the surveys, and there's a discrepancy, like Nathan had mentioned, with another survey that had been done. And at that point, I guess I'm just opposed to having people drive on my property, as through the years what we've dealt with, how that gate become up in the first place with the agreements with DNR and myself and Todd's dad at the time.
Did you put up the gate?
It was kind of a joint deal between the DNR.
Who paid for the gate?
I believe it was half and half, and the DNR put the gate up.
That's my understanding as well.
I mean, that's going to 10, 12
So
years.
that's also my understanding, that there was a cost share.
Who has the keys to open the gate?
I believe DNR, we have a copy, and I believe Tim.
We do, I do.
Todd has a copy.
So I guess, do you feel like if you did option 3 and put a parking area a quarter mile down, that you could sign that that's private property, so that if there's an issue, they can call law enforcement of trespass issues, or?
So there's a few things that are gonna exist in terms of need, regardless of an access improvement project, and signing an actual property line. Once we have a new understanding of where that property is, that's something we normally do. The MnDOT encroachment issue is maybe a poor way to characterize that. They're not making an issue of it, but the fact remains is that that gate is on a MnDOT right away right now. And I think their preference would be that it's off of that. So regardless of a project, that would be something we would be looking to remedy. In terms of getting a complete quarter mile back, I do want to be clear though that to the degree there would be a wetland prior to getting to a quarter mile, that's something that we would not be willing to do in terms of filling in a wetland. So if it, and what I see here on the option 3B, there's a comment bubble and there's some shrubs right where the SNA and the two adjacent property owners come together. And so where we're showing the lot, it is my belief, to where we can get a parking lot in. Now, if the site visit shows otherwise, certainly maybe there would be some room to go further west. But I just want everyone to have a clear understanding of what things exist that may constrain our ability to go in further west. And we do have a wetland concern there.
Well, that, can that wetland be crossed if it's dry?
Certainly at times of year, maybe there's a possibility. I guess I would also call your attention to the overview map. We did look at an option in the full northwest corner of the SNA, and coming down south, there's a watershed district parking lot.
So
They've said that can be used.
that doesn't accomplish getting people to the size of the unit to the, I guess one question I raise or think about, is there a way that you could purchase an easement from those landowners to keep the road where it's at so that you don't have to do any construction or disturb a wetland? I know that's been done in the past where, so that way they can use it too, and I would think that could be a cost-effective way.
Presumably, I mean, that would be dependent on the cost. At a certain point, things do become cost prohibitive. We would need to weigh those costs against what we see as an actual need. This is something that we don't view as being needed. It's something that we're basically responding to, a need that the county board is asserting exists. We're not getting phone calls from the public saying we need more access here. But we do want to be responsive, and so that's what we're trying to do here.
Well, we are getting responses from people that would like to see something different there too.
And that would also depend on the landowner's willingness.
Yeah, and the landowners, they would need to be agreeable to an easement.
Right.
And to date, they've stated that they are not agreeable to any use of their property, and I've got that in the assessment here, is that was one of the sideboards here that we wanted to stay within.
I did have a question raised to me when you get into that issue, is that I've had someone from the public say, well, the road is there, how can we not use it and the landowners use a public roadway? I didn't know how to answer that. I said, I don't know that.
And so if we were to, let's say we choose to move forward with an alternative that requires an update to the designation order, that designation order would allow the public to use that travelway, and then the adjacent landowners would also be part of the public.
Right.
Now, for them to continue to use that outside of that designation order, we would need to have some sort of an agreement with them. We're not seeing that as part of this project per se, and any time those type of coordination or agreement needs are in place, we do coordinate with adjacent landowners.
Todd, you got something?
Well, I was just gonna say, I thought the main goal of this whole project was to get to the far corner, like where 4 and 5 are, you know, stuff like that. My dad built that road so that he could get to the 200 to farm it. There was no road there until, and stuff like that, so it's not really a public road.
But I guess the issue that Todd comes is it's on public property. the
Yeah,
established road.
we're debating, yeah, we're gonna,
And
we'll double
that's-
check into that, because the way Woodseth Smith and Nolte, when they surveyed for me, they were telling me it was, well, we'll fix that, but I thought the main goal of the whole thing, because we have a parking spot here on the east, we put in this new one here for number 3, we're still not getting down to this big end where you wanna be.
The goal is to our initial meaning was to kind of get halfway down there someplace so that it eliminates the distance of, because it's a very big unit.
Yeah, right, and that's why when we had Shelley and the three of us went for a ride, we seen this one where they had the 1P, which would be on the south side. If they'd make that one a little bigger, you'd still, but at this, the 4 or 5 would be more toward your ends. You know, you'd have all, because it's more longer than it is wide, but that's not what you're after. You're after just to get to our side, you know, on that side, so you can hunt over there. And that's the main thing I see, correct?
Well, they want to be able to, so they can walk in at a fair distance.
Yeah. Oh, they do. They walk in. There's a lot of them that park here in the
No, I
side.
understand that, but that's what I'm hearing. And
Yeah.
It's such a huge unit.
Yeah.
If they do shoot something and they can get it out of there.
Yeah.
It's a half section, isn't it?
No, it's 2 miles, I think, long. Whatever that comes to. Yeah, it's be a half section.
No, it's 2 sections.
Two sections.
What is it?
2 sections.
2 sections.
2 sections.
So it's big area. Okay.
Question that I have here, how far in on this property is the wetlands that may or may not be impacted by a different road, by a different
My
road?
thinking, based on the air photo you've got in front of you and
Okay.
based on my driving, that roadway is about just west of where we show the parking area on option 3.
Okay.
And so it's just about up to Mr. Christian's land.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you went with option 3, what would be the status of the road west of the parking lot in option 3?
Our current thinking is that that would not be included as an area that public travel would be allowed on.
So you put the gate in just on the west side of the parking lot?
Yeah. Now, in certain circumstances, we do issue permits to people who have different needs, like say someone.
So essentially, if you went with option 3, you'd create a parking lot in approximately a quarter mile, and then still keep the road closed west of that.
Correct.
Is that workable for you folks?
I'm against it myself. Actually living there for how many years, it gets wet as soon as you come off the first little ridge in the spring. That is all water, mud, and our land renter has trouble farming that area all through there. Like I said earlier, best option for myself would be to put an entrance right to the south, move the gate back to 150, put an entrance to the DNR, and if they want to extend a parking area up to the first wood line of the scientific and natural area, that's about where your wetland is going to start, right after that, and go off the ridge. And that gives them extra 150, 200 yards off from where the gate is at now.
This road is probably only used 3 months out of the year. Probably September, October, November.
Oh no, before the gate went up, it was people driving down there spotlighting steady.
Well, that's an enforcement issue, I mean, you can call that in and stuff, but as far as I just really struggle that where Todd's approaching his field, if something could be done in that area. So he's not inhibited with gates and getting in and out of his field and can use the road and a parking area down there. I just didn't see no big wetland, but maybe I'm not a biologist of sort, but I see a ditch that was already created, a road ditch there, that if you consider that a wetland or a somewhat.
And I saw that, right along the edge of the road, and the area I'm referring to is, like I said, right where the SNA meets the property lines of Mr. Christian and Mr. Jagle, just to the south of that. Does it sound like you may be seeing value in a seasonal type road usage?
I guess that's where I get the complaints is during the hunting season. I mean, if it was probably gated in the spring, I don't see that as a big issue. I don't see people want to get back there other than to, when it's hunting season and they want to be able to get back farther within a reasonable amount of distance to walk in and stuff. That's why I say I don't, if it's 3 months a year, probably. I mean, I agree with Mr. Jago, if it's probably open, somebody probably drive down there, joyride, but I don't think anybody would be appalled or mad if it was gated till September 1st or something, and open through
Yeah.
Well, that'd probably be,
December or something, when muzzle loading and stuff ends or whatever.
that'd probably be the cleanest one if you know, there are concerns about maybe some wet times of the year going through the road, but, you know, if you open up September 1st until the end of hunting season, and then close it after that again.
But the road is good, I mean, the road is good, it's a
Yeah, well,
nice road,
yeah.
the work.
Yeah, my dad did it, so I'm
It's a
just
good
wondering.
solid gravel
Yeah.
road, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gravel too?
Yeah, he gravelled it, so we're almost better off digging it up, is what I'm thinking, because nobody fixes it. It's not a township.
You'd only be able to dig a foot of it up though.
Yeah.
Looked on the
We're not done with
survey.
that part yet, but I mean, yeah. You know,
Looking at the
we
survey.
can, you know, we dig up our part of it and then not take, you know, it's not maintained and all that stuff, they still can't get down to the far end where they're after. You know, which we're looking at here, but that's, you know, yeah.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
One thing I don't think, if I could, that we need to solve today is, okay, where is the dot on the map? It seems like there's interest in having additional parking inward to at least a quarter of a mile. Okay, we know that that would require a public hearing and an ultimate commissioner's decision. I think a good way to move forward would be for the board to pass a resolution asking the DNR to move forward with the public hearing. Hopefully, things would be more concrete in terms of that dot on the map, whether or not there's seasonal restrictions. That can be presented at the hearing. We can have the public input, you know, as part of that due process. And that just gets us, you know, on a path forward that I think is actionable.
That seems reasonable, and that's with the process to move forward. I have no problem with that. So you need a
Well,
resolution.
Do we want some type of support on one of these alternatives
Well, I
in
think
the
I
resolution?
think he knows that's what he's talking about, right? Is that road going west?
I think it would be helpful
Option
to
3.
identify maybe option 3 on or about, option 3 something.
Yeah,
to that degree.
something more definite than just,
Right.
I mean, the more specific the better,
yeah.
but not so specific that it pigeonholes anyone.
But we want to make it so that we can get as far down that road as we can. Like I say, and to my mind, looking at it, the approach in Mr. Christensen's field, you know, there's still road past that. But I mean, that would get people quite a ways back.
Well, I do think that the ideas I'm hearing about seasonal use can be an effective way to get at some of the concerns about a variety of things, wetland impacts, maintenance costs. And so, you know, this meeting's pretty valuable to hear these type of things.
well, is there, I don't hear much from the public other than for the hunting, but do you hear anything like, they like to go back there and just go back there for just
No, the only other thing I hear is,
viewing or walking or?
I hear a lot of people.
Walking's no problem.
No, but I mean,
The only
getting
other,
back there and then viewing some of the stuff back in the area, so.
it's mainly deer hunting, because if they shoot a deer back there to get it off, because you gotta walk, you know, past the fences and stuff to drag it back out. An access point to get to, that's the biggest, and then the only other issue I hear, and I'm gonna tell you, is they'd like to see turkey hunting opened up in there too.
Oh, really?
I hear, because there's quite a few birds in that area, but that's a different issue, but I hear that a lot.
Okay. And anytime you hear these type of requests, please feel comfortable passing those along.
But it's the deer hunting thing, and like I say, a seasonal thing probably would work, you know, for 4 months,
We wouldn't need the parking lot then if we if we opened the gate up for those 4 months then? Is that what you're saying?
I think they want a parking area down there.
Plus,
I think it's,
There's a
would be
place to get
important.
off the road.
Is
to
there,
designate
parking
an
area.
is there room to get off the road?
Oh, yeah,
and park?
there's some spots back there that I think.
We would want to
Without-
designate an area and to further limit travel elsewhere and
Right.
make it very clear, this is where you can go and this is where you
Okay.
cannot go.
Well, I
I
mean,
think-
you might need some type of parking spot.
Does seasonal gate opening work for you guys, the landowners on that property?
if it doesn't, where we have to put that new fence up to kind of, which is gonna squeeze that road down for my farm machinery, that's what I'm worried about there, so that's wondering about the gate. I've gotta talk to Tim and I gotta talk about this a little bit, and stuff like that, but if you still have to have that parking area down there farther, they're still gonna shoot farther down. There is no, as they shoot straight down, there is no turnaround or no parking at
Right,
the
but I
end.
mean, they could gate that road there, right where the parking area would be. I could see that as
Then
easy.
do you want that gate open then during the hunting?
No, what I'm saying is, if he can get as far west, put a parking area on the south side of the road, and then they could fence that road, so it don't interfere with you coming out of your approach, is what I'm saying. They could work that out. I don't
Well, and
see-
we would like to see the travel end at the parking area.
Right, and your fields are pretty well protected, because you got ditches, pretty good ditches on your
Yeah.
side of the, on that
Yeah.
side of the road, so nobody can really, other than your approach, if they drove in there.
Right, but
But your
I'm
field-
worried about them getting farther down and getting stuck in that,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
No, if he can get to the approach, I don't see an issue at that point, because that gets him down there quite a ways.
What
Not
we would
really.
want at the parking area is something in place to prevent the public from traveling further.
Yeah,
And if that's a gate that you have a key to, that's something, we would certainly be open to. And also, if the landowner's preference is to have a signpost every so many feet instead of a fence, in order to minimize any disruption, that's something we would want to make sure to coordinate with you as well.
but is 3 far enough down for you? It's not really getting us much farther to that very west end that,
Put up, I'm saying like where your field approach is.
Yeah, I don't think you can get there because there's a pretty low spot on the south end on DNR land. I don't think they're gonna let you build there.
Well, we'll have to look at that. I think that would be the optimal.
Right, because that would get you down farther, but right where the line is, I'm pretty sure she dips. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's where the culvert, but just so you don't, we're not gaining that much farther west like you'd like. But,
We're running short time.
yeah,
And I think you have an idea of what the county board is kind of looking at, we could work with option 3.
Are you willing to pass a resolution
To
today?
move forward and have a hearing, but I guess just like Nathan says, just so that you kind of, you want to get as far west as we can, preferably to his field approach over there would be ideal. I don't want 10 feet off the highway and come back.
So the preference is to get all the way to Mr. Christian's at the property line there.
Well, his field approach. You and I are talking about two different things. You're talking about property line, I'm talking about his field approach into his field, which is farther west. Because that's the whole issue here. The whole issue is to try to get folks so they can get back, because it's such a big unit, at least back it down there, if not, so they can enter in from that side of the unit and enjoy it.
But, it's something we can look into. I'm not aware of an option or a way to get past what we show as option 3 right now, so I don't want there to be any false expectations on what we can and what we can't accomplish moving forward.
Okay, what do you need in the resolution?
Just a request to move forward with an option, if you prefer, providing a distance west from the current corner. A resolution can be as simple as a statement, or you could have an exhibit you point to. It's just something that
Put it together.
demonstrates the board's wishes. If there's a different form,
Well, I guess I'd be in favor of a road back until Mr. Christensen's walk, our driveway, And beyond a little bit that, so he doesn't have any problem with the machinery, you know, my machine swinging around, but make sure that whatever you want, barrier you're gonna put up beyond that crossing doesn't interfere with his farm machinery going in and out.
Maybe I'll just reiterate what Nathan said, and that is, you know, this map that we showed here, which reflects option 3, as Nathan stated at the beginning. And I think Mr. Christian has also noted that there is definitely a low spot there, which that's a point beyond which we're probably not willing to go. You know, I think it is, Chair Bommersbach, up for discussion, how long is, you know, if they're measuring from the center line of Highway 32, that probably is showing about a quarter mile in there. But I think this is the area that we as DNR have come at, along with those other options that are in your packet. But this one is the one that we kind of settled on. We thought met the needs of the board and also was something that the property owners could live with. Because that's one thing I want you to help remember to consider is, I don't know, I don't think Mr. Jegal is interested in having the gate moved in that far, but he's willing to accept it, perhaps. And Mr. Christian, I don't know if he's willing to have the road farther into where his access onto his field is. I mean, as a public, open public road. So I just want to be clear, as Nathan said, you know, this number 3 as outlined in the table is something that we have said we can accomplish.
So tell me how I address public when they ask me, how can some of the public drive on that road and others be blocked up?
As Nathan said, that would be an agreement with those landowners that we would have to make. It's not all totally public.
No, but it's almost, I mean, according to those surveys.
Beyond the point of number 3 on the map, the road veers to the north more, and so it's not on the SNA as much as it is to the...
Farther north you get, or the farther west you get.
Yeah, the less it is on the,
You know, even if you got part of the road on private property, you got a problem.
that's a problem.
I understand that, but the question always comes up, and like I say, is that when people say, well, how can they drive on the SNA?
Because it's not all SNA.
But public property.
Public
property, you can't drive on
That's
public
the-
property. Well, and I think what we're looking for today, because I know that the time we're over time already, it's a sticky situation, which is why it takes us a long time to explain and kind of vet the ideas and have, you know, your constituents testify. But I think if we could have a motion that the board supports as resolution that is give or take a quarter mile in based on the map and number 3, that would be helpful for us. And we could move forward with the hearing and that kind of thing. Nathan, is it close
If
to?
that's accurate, I think a motion would suffice.
And did you want to add anything?
Yep, real quick, I know you're running late. When you're talking about other people, us, Todd, their farmers using that property, I've discussed with Shelley an option. Move the gate back 150 feet, I've talked with Todd a little bit. But to open a gate to our property, they can use their equipment and all their things that they need to get to their field on our property alone. So nobody is messing with the DNR's property at all. I'm talking about getting an easement or Todd, that they can always have access on our property. Done deal, nobody's using it. Just final. Because if you got a second, I wanted to show you a picture from last year. That if people are complaining about dragging animals that far, this is right out front, the gate. It's entrails from a deer that a person pulled up to the gate. My son was out there.
They got it off ground.
They fired, dropped the animal, they drug it all the way back out to the highway to show the public. And 80% of the public is neutral to hunt. And when people see stuff like that right along a state highway, that's showing bad stuff for us, especially with PETA.
We're getting off track here a little bit. So let's, I guess, we can give a motion today, but I don't know, I guess I'm questioning the resolution. You want something?
I think it's more of a motion, just board direction that's in your minutes.
Okay, so someone want, I guess, I'm gonna put forth a motion. I would support option 3, but in my motion, I would support going far west as possible, preferably to Mr. Christian's approach into his field, so he has no restrictions in coming in and out. Because I'm still not sold on the wetland thing, but, and in the motion that it can be a seasonal opening for them 4 months during the concerned time period when people are hunting back there and stuff, so. I don't know, is that clarified enough for you guys?
You mentioned somebody.
Yes, September through December.
September through December.
Which gate are you talking about?
Well, they're gonna,
Option 3, you said.
option 3, to move that gate as far west
To the parking lot.
of Mr. Christensen's approach is what I'm hoping for, that's the goal, but as far as we can go. And then create a new parking lot down there so people can get off the road, park, and not infringe on travel there, so people coming in and out.
There'll still be a gate beyond that.
A big gate beyond that,
Stays closed.
I would say so, on the west side, yeah.
And, well, I'll wait if there's a second.
But I mean, is that,
Just to
Is there any other-
recognize that when we run out of land, we're unlikely to build additional road beyond that wetland area. The cost is just prohibitive for us. We can't
but I
afford to
just-
build more road back there.
I guess maybe we should walk out there together sometime, because I'm struggling because I walked it.
Well, I'm saying that the survey shows that the road is not on state land anymore there, and so we'd have to build more road beyond that
You have to
point
move
of.
like 2-3 feet over from the existing road, but I don't see that as a big barrier, but.
It's one
You're
of the
saying it's-
things we considered, yeah.
But if there's that wetland there, I don't, like when I went, it was pretty decent, but anyway.
I'll second.
Okay, so I got a motion by Commissioner Bommersbach, a second by Commissioner Redland. Is there any further discussion?
Okay, the question I have on a motion is, are you making a motion to have a
Public hearing.
open hearing
Right.
to discuss this option you just said? Is
Right.
that what you're saying?
Right.
Our public hearing, and maybe just to clarify, Commissioner, would be, in order to allow motorized travel on an SNA, it would require a commissioner's order, and that requires a public hearing. So that's the public hearing we were talking about, is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, this only allow motorized traffic up to the parking area.
Correct.
Correct.
And so was there a hearing done prior to that with the motorized vehicles using it now?
There's been actually a couple different public hearings for this SNA. The first one being just designating it. At a time later, when the decision was made to allow deer hunting, okay, that was an additional amendment to the designation order. And I believe there's been a couple miscellaneous ones since. So it's a pretty common process.
Well, that's fine, I was just questioning the motor vehicle use now that's there. Was there a hearing to allow that?
At the time that the vehicle usage that is within the designation order is specific to the watershed district for doing some monitoring work. And so that's not open to the general public. And we really looked into that because I was asking the same question.
He's asking about the existing farmers using that. Was that grandfathered in as part of this SMA? Or?
That is not explicitly included in it.
Because even like, not even just the farmers, but like when they first opened, there was people that drove back here to hunt, and that's where the issue comes.
Yeah. And if you recall, we just recently learned that the property line is further north than where we had thought it was prior.
Yeah.
So it's
we're learning more as we move forward.
Will the public hearing happen here?
Yes.
Yeah.
The ones in the past, I actually was a hearing officer, I think, when we opened it up to hunting and we had public hearing here. Didn't have anyone appear, as I recall, for that particular hearing to redesignate, in that way. So, but that, yeah, we try to hold it in the county where the SNA is located.
How far out would that be, the hearing? Just,
I can't give you an exact date, I would say.
I mean, they're not
I think
down
a goal we
today,
could
but
have
like
is
a month or 2 months or.
within a couple months, I think would be a good goal.
Sometime early
Yeah.
summer,
It would be my hope that we could have this change in place by
September.
Could you read that motion back, Donna, so I know exactly what?
I was waiting for him to restate it.
Because I don't have, I wanna make sure I'm voting on something.
I wrote it as we were going, maybe we can support, I move the board support option 3, including having the road and gate as far to the west as possible, and preferably to Mr. Christian's field with seasonal access.
It's field
It's a-
entrance.
His
Mr. Christian.
field entrance.
That's two different.
Yep.
Field line.
With seasonal opening of the gate in September, October, November, December. Would that clear, is that pretty close?
And what it's saying is the board supports option 3.
Support option 3 is what he
If it's
moved, I
seasonal
believe.
gate opening, which gate is that?
That would be that one generally probably where it is now off the highway right away.
Okay, so even if you create this parking area, it'll still be gated off for 9 months out of the year?
That's what the motion is.
Because it's not an issue of people as far as, because nobody,
So it's only gonna be open for 3 months?
September, October, 4 months.
4 months.
Through the hunting season.
September to December.
So I have a problem with how it's worded because I personally can't support this at this time. I want to hear what the public has to say. So I would say I could support it if you say the board would like to have the DNR hold a public hearing to look at, but no, it's saying we support that option. And I'm not comfortable with that because I'm not supporting that option at this point. I want to hear the whole thing before I make a decision. So I can't, I can't support that.
I guess I look at it, Leanne, as having a public hearing on the proposal.
Right, but I mean,
If people don't like it,
in the
they
way
have
she
to be
worded it,
settled
we're
with the
supporting it,
issues.
right?
Well,
I'm not
rather supporting it, say,
Move forward.
move forward on that
A
option.
public hearing to
Public hearing,
get the public
discuss it.
input on this option.
Yeah,
That's,
that'd be
I
better.
would support that,
Okay.
that personally, but I can't support it the way.
I made a motion on the floor, I got a second. I'm gonna call the question of vote on that. You can, vote against it if you like. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I-
Okay, so 4 ayes, 1 nay, that passed. We'll move forward with the public hearing, targeting option 3.
I appreciate your time and good discussion and for the property owners for working with us and we look forward to a final resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.